Hey guys, what the heck is going on? Sam Cox here with Team Broplier, and coming at y'all today with a video that I've really been wanting to make over the last, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks or so. But I've really been just trying to get together all the, I guess you could say, facts and just talking points and whatever that I wanted to, I guess, do for this video. This is going to be a video that's kind of about um, the new cards that are just becoming extremely relevant in GOAT. And I say new in a sense of like the cards that are just becoming relevant again, because none of these cards are new. This is a GOAT format. All these cards have been out for, 15, 16 years or so. But yeah, these are all cards that just have really seen a shit ton of play here recently. And I'm going to do my best to kind of walk through a lot of these cards and kind of explain why they became popular and kind of explain like the chain reaction of the meta game that kind of happens whenever certain cards get popular, and we have to play other cards to kind of counter those cards, and stuff like that, because I feel like that's really what happens with GOAT format. A lot of people will say that this format is dead, but there are also, on the flip side of that coin, a lot of people that will say, well, this format's just like a rotating meta. And with that being said, it's like a time where a deck will be popular for 2 or 3 months, and then in 2 or 3 months after that, it really hardly even sees any play. I think a really good example, I guess we're going to skip down here real quick to King Tiger Wang, who this card was extremely popular, and this deck was extremely popular last year. But then this deck started playing things like Solemn Judgment, for instance. That was kind of one of the cards that had piggybacked off of Wanghu, because it is a stun control deck. And then people started maining Mobius, just out things like back row and stuff. So Mobius became popular because Wanghu is popular, even though those cards have nothing to do with each other. And then Mobius just became a popular card in the main deck, even after Wanghu decided to not be as, popular, or show as much relevance in tournaments and stuff. So it's just kind of a weird, like I said, rotating meta, and a weird kind of a chain reaction that happens whenever certain cards see a lot of play. And that's really kind of what had happened a lot with this year. And I guess not only talking about the cards that are kind of just gaining more popularity right now, but we're also going to talk about I guess kind of a 2020 recap, kind of what had happened, and then what you guys can expect to see going into, I guess, the next year or so, maybe, of playing GOAT. Kind of what I think might happen as far as like popular decks and stuff, and kind of what's really happening at this moment. But I guess we can first talk about like the big thing that happened, which was COVID. And man, it's a bummer that all that happened. But I can say that it's been really cool to see the Yu-Gi-Oh community pull together when there has been like little to no tournaments at all, like in real life. Like anything outside of locals or online has been kind of really obsolete. And I've seen a lot of people gravitate towards GOAT format. Pretty much like, I'd say like 90% of people that I know have a modern deck in their deck box, in their bag, and they're not even getting it out, but they're all just playing GOAT and stuff. And we've seen the prices of GOAT cards kind of jump, and Dueling Book, for instance, got rated GOATs this year, which is really cool. But it's a format that's not going anywhere, and it's kind of proven itself through a pandemic. So I think that everybody's really like, okay, cool, this is a format that I really like. And I think people, that had first thought of this format as kind of like stale, or like there's no changes or whatever, they've been like, oh well, that's kind of like the benefit of it, is that the card pool doesn't change, the ban list doesn't change, and then you can put this game down for a year or two, and come back to it, and it's still the same. It plays the same way. There's just different cards that are popular, and that kind of feeds into the whole rotating meta thing that I was talking about. So and these are all kind of just my opinions that I've seen. I play Go format probably like every day right now because if those of you that know me know that I'm a musician, and know that I guess the music industry right now is kind of really taking a huge hit due to everything going on. But that's cool. It's been good to just kind of hang out and spend time with family and friends, and play a little bit more cards than I have in the last year or two. But these are all just kind of my opinions, and so let me know if I'm just completely dead wrong down in the comments. Say, Sam, you suck. This is not even why this card became popular, so on and so forth. So I do appreciate you guys watching, and I'm just going to do my best to kind of explain, like I said, in my opinions, why I feel like certain things that kind of happen, and certain things that I've seen in my own judgment. So um, I guess we're going to start out with Blade Knight. And on that same talking point, we're going to talk about Don Zalug and Grandmaster. These cards were really popular in a deck earlier this year that had, kind of became popular. That was called Chaos Warriors. And Chaos Warriors is a really cool deck. It's a deck that plays, you can probably guess, Chaos monsters like Sork and BLS and stuff. And it also gave you the benefit of playing light and dark, just kind of powerhouse, big dick boys that just like tore up shit. Like Donzalug and Blade Knight and Grandmaster, these cards can make your opponent go -1. All these cards have the potential to make your opponent go -1, and they're all lights and darks. You play 2 Rhoda in this format, so you have the potential to search out the light or dark that you want. So it's really, really cool, and it was a deck that put on a lot of pressure. Blade Knight, I say, was like probably one of the most problematic monster in this deck. People were playing 2 to 3 of this card in the main and deciding like any other copy that they weren't playing in the main. And this had kind of made it to where cards like Gravekeeper Spy needed to come to save the day, so to speak, because Blade Knight can just out pretty much any flip effect monster when it destroys it, but it can't destroy Gravekeeper Spy. So what would happen is people started playing Gravekeeper Spy a couple months after like Chaos Warriors became like a really big thing, and then Gravekeeper Spy obviously is just an amazing card. It just makes Blade Knight go from Blade Knight being like a -1 for their opponent to like giving their opponent an extra face-up Gravekeeper Spy. So that's kind of crazy, and it's like it's kind of a slap in the face for Blade Knight. So people were like, oh no, you know. So that I'd say Chaos Warriors kind of took a big hit whenever that had happened, because people were forced to play things like level 2 Swordsman, which isn't a light or a dark, which didn't really feed into the Chaos Warriors thing. But level 2 Swordsman saw a ton of play just because Gravekeeper Spy is such a big problematic card. And I'm going to say something about Gravekeeper Spy. I don't think that Spy is going to be a card that rotates out of the meta anytime soon. I've seen people play this card just in like goat control decks. I've seen people play this card in Monarchs because it puts extra bodies on the board. I've seen this card be played in I played this card in flip control for probably like 4 or 5 months, and it just flip control was already really overwhelming with the amount of flips and chaos monsters they played, but I feel like Spy just kind of pushed it overboard, and it was like a really, really good card. So Spy, I don't think is going to be a card that goes anywhere anytime soon. I think it's going to be more or less a staple that ends up getting put into more and more decks, kind of like Breaker Tribe and that kind of stuff. And with Spy becoming popular, obviously being played in Chaos and stuff, we saw Book of Moon pretty much go to 3 in every single Chaos deck. And if you're not playing 3 Book of Moon, you're playing 2. And if you're not playing 2 or 3 and you're playing Chaos, then you need to probably like listen to what I have to say about this. Book of Moon is an amazing card, guys. Okay, let's talk about Spy just in general by itself. If you have Spy, you can apply pressure, attack with it, face up, and attack. And then if your opponent tries to run into it, flip it down with Book of Moon, and then Spy gets flipped up in defense, and then special another one in face-up defense. So you pretty much trade a Book of Moon for another face-up Spy deck. Then you put some more darks and more flips into your graveyard. It's absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention the fact that Book of Moon can out things like Ring of Destruction, Sakuratsu, Mirror Force, your opponents, Chaos Sorcerer, all that stuff, man. And it can kind of help you abuse your flip effects, like Merchant and Faith and Spy and that kind of stuff. So it's a really, really good card. I love this card. I play this card at 3 in Chaos, and it makes the deck just absolutely amazing. I was playing Flip Chaos, like I said, for a long time, and for a little bit there, I'd say earlier this summer, I was like, dude, is this game figured out? Because is this the best fucking deck in the whole entire meta? Because it was just so powerful. Yeah. So anyway, Book of Moon and Spy all became kind of popular. I mean, Book of Moon's always been a card, but I'd say that relevant to this, before this year, a lot of people thought of Book of Moon as kind of just like a -1 for the turn, like block your opponent's monster from attacking, or kind of combo it with Thousand Eyes Restrict to soak up another monster or whatever. But it really became extremely relevant this year. So yeah, I went from playing Chaos Warriors to, or I guess the meta went from playing Chaos Warriors to Gravekeeper Spy, just shut that shit down like real quick. And then people had to start playing level 2 Swordsman, which was also a card that was like, it's a powerful card by itself, and it's a card that needs to be answered if it's on the field. And so you saw a lot of anti-meta decks kind of come out of this. You saw a lot of decks that were playing things like level 2 Swordsman, Warrior Packages, Azure Priest, and all this other crazy stuff just to deal with this Spy right here. So I feel like Spy really kind of just like shook the whole entire game. And then we saw cards like, Raigeki Break and Thunder Dragon and Serpent have all been popular cards in GOAT for a while, but I've seen 2 online tournaments here recently. One was like Worlds for GOAT, and then another one was a tournament that was on the Jinzo and Tonic's channel. And I'll link it down below so y'all can check it out. But they're like all of the top 8 builds were all playing Chaos. And not only that, but they were all playing Raigeki Break and kind of like pitch traps and stuff. And I think I would like to think that Raigeki Break started becoming extremely popular over Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, because like Raigeki Break, just deals with things like Spy right on the spot because you don't want to put that fucking card on the deck on top of their deck just so they can draw it again. So, and it was just like, man, we really got to find a way to like kind of deal with these problematic things. And then even with Spy not becoming a thing, I'm sorry, not becoming a thing. Even with Spy, like if people aren't playing it, I feel like people have kind of stuck with the whole Raigeki Break build, and that's kind of where we're at, and that's kind of where we're going to be for a few months. I feel like because Raigeki Break and Thunder Dragon and Serpent are just all such powerful cards within themselves. And yeah, it just pitch chaos is just that's where it is right now. That's what people are playing, and it's kind of like crazy the amount of people that are playing that. If you get on Dueling Book and you like play rated dueling duels and stuff, there's so many people that are playing this fucking deck. It's crazy. Magic Jammers become a super popular thing in the main and the side for these kinds of decks. Obviously, they do different things like Phoenix Wingman Blast, Raigeki Break, Magic Jammer. They're all somewhat of the same card because you're allowed to pitch a card to destroy or negate something, or I guess just kind of like remove it from the game. But they kind of do different things. Obviously, Magic Jammer is really, really good. I've seen this card being sided so much against cards that play like a ton of spells against things like Monarchs and Go Control, and obviously things like Reasoning Gate and Morphing Jar or Empty Jar and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so with Serpent and Thunder Dragon becoming super popular, I felt like Kaiku had seen a lot of representation in the main, not only because of Serpent Thunder Dragon, but just because Chaos had become super popular. But at the same time, if they're playing Thunder Dragon and Serpent, they're probably playing Chaos. So that's just kind of like a double reason why Kaiku became popular. Kaiku is just the card that will banish your opponent's Serpent, will banish your opponent's Thunder Dragons and stuff, and will make these pitch traps obsolete and really can make your opponent fall behind because then they're having to pitch dark monsters from their hands that might not be Night Assailant and make it to where Chaos can kind of fall behind. So I've seen people main 1, 2, or 3 Kaiku, and I saw the majority of those deck profiles like maining at least 1 or 2 copies. Some were maining 3, so it's kind of crazy. And when Kaiku is just such a strong card right now because even in the Chaos matchup, you banish their Thunder Dragons or like their Faiths and Merchants, which kind of get knocked a lot anyway. And the DD Warrior Lady doesn't really go to the grave. And then if they run Azura, they're lucky because I feel like, man, the light monster count in GOAT format isn't as relevant as or as prominent as the dark monster count. So if Kaiku can go ahead and banish like a lot of the lights and especially the Serpent, like the opposing person is going to have like a really hard time, especially if they're playing the pitch stuff. So that's another reason why Kaiku became super popular. Zaborg, Zaborg is like, man, this has been crazy. I've seen so many people. This has been over the last 2 or 3 months. Zaborg has just been super popular. One reason because Spy just puts extra bodies on board, and you're able to tribute those extra bodies for something like Zaborg. Zaborg can out, any of your opponent's monsters. It can attack over things like Chaos Sword, and also it's a level 5. So if you're playing the Metamorphosis build, you can go into things like Balter, and it's a light monster. So people are playing this, especially like siding it, and some are maining it like in their Chaos decks too. So guys, don't be surprised if you see a lot more Zaborg in y'all's matchups. But I'd say that one of the main reasons was because Spy put more bodies on board, and Spy is popular along with the Chaos, and then this is just really good against Chaos, and it's good in Chaos. So Zaborg definitely seen a lot of play for a damn good reason. Mimic Chaos is a thing that plays all these 3 cards. You play Scapegoat, Merchant, you play Faith, Serpent, and level 1 Mimic. If you guys don't know what these are, they're all level 1 monsters that are lights and darks except for Serpent, that allow you to activate Metamorphosis and go into Thousand Eyes Restrict, and people also play Chaos monsters in those. That's a really good deck. I don't want to say it's not as good as Pitch Chaos, but it's definitely not as represented right now. So I guess get familiar with the level 1 Mimic and get familiar with this card and try to figure out how to play around this card. Level 3 Mimic kind of allows you to just draw like freaking crazy if you can't deal with it in the right way. So this is a really good combination. I've seen people play 2 and 2, or I've seen people play 3 and 1. There's different builds of it, but yeah, just I'm not saying it's like a heavy deck running around, but it's a deck that's been kind of popular here recently, and we'll see how much more play that it gets. Azure Priest is a card that I've seen a lot of people play here recently. I'm not 100% sure why. If I'm being honest with you guys, I think that obviously it's an amazing card, for things like Scapegoat and just kind of putting pressure on your opponent. But I've seen Azure and level 2 swordsmen kind of go hand in hand in aggressive decks, because aggressive decks need to be a thing right now because, of, like I said, of fucking Gravekeeper Spy. This card is just a crazy thing, and it can't deal with Spy by itself. But like, you know, if your opponent's turn like the spies to attack, then obviously you can kind of deal with it there. But like, man, it's just Gravekeeper Spy really did kind of shake up everything. But Azure Priest is definitely becoming an extremely popular card here recently because I feel like, you know, there's just so many decks that can abuse this card, and Chaos is becoming really popular, and I feel like people are really realizing that since Kaiku is being mained right now, then they need extra light targets. So that's another reason why Azure is being popular, which is another kind of counter reaction on why Mind Crush became popular, because Azure Priest like returns back to the hand, so Mind Crush can just crush that out. And if people are playing multiple Mind Crush, then obviously that's just almost GG. Like if you can open like double Mind Crush and you know that your opponent has like something like Azura or Sinister, then yeah. With Sinister, Mind Crush becomes a little bit better. Obviously, you can it kind of makes Mind Crush like a neg one for that turn because you know Sinister will come back. But if you have two of them, then that's really good. Trap Dash Shoot is becoming extremely popular in the main to shuffle this little thing back, and also just to kind of, you know, look at your opponent's hand, gain knowledge, and, you know, whatever. I don't see these people maining them together because they kind of do the exact, they kind of counter each other because Mind Crush will take cards out of their hand and they need cards in their hand. But if your opponent's playing things like, you know, Sinister, Azure Priest, you know, cards that kind of like, you know, add more cards to your hand, Thunder Dragon or whatever, then like Trap Dash, you can really mess those decks up. One profile that I've seen here recently, I want to give a shout out to Go Format Italia, and I'll link them down below so y'all can check them out. Arsenal Summoner and Guardian Sphinx and Guardian of the Throne Room. Somebody got a first place at a tournament here recently playing this, and it's a really cool deck. It's kind of, I don't want to call it a stun deck, but it's a deck that plays like a lot of different chaos, and but at the same time it plays a heavy trap lineup, but at the same time it can stun your opponent. So what this does is Arsenal Summoner says you can search a flip, add one Guardian card from your deck to your hand except for Celtic Guardian, Winged Dragon Guardian of the Fortress #1, and #2 Guardian of the Labyrinth and the Reliable Guardian. So it's like you could, all these things are available except for like all of them. So it's kind of like the new Taco Bell menu. It's like, oh yeah, come Taco Bell, but we don't have like anything that you want. So, but you can search this card right here, and Guardian Sphinx. You can tribute your summoner for Sphinx face down. And what this card does is it returns all your opponent's monsters to the hand every time that it's flipped, and it can flip face down again every turn. Kind of like, you know, the Pac-Man decks or Deslakuda and that kind of stuff, except for it's a level 5. It's 24 defense. Your opponent cannot attack over it. So I think that that's pretty badass, and you can really kind of stun your opponent. Like if you have this and like, I know the deck played like Mask of Darkness and Judgments and that kind of stuff to like return the traps. And if you can really get your opponent locked, it's a really cool deck. Then he played Guardian of the Throne Room. This card is a light 1650 monster that you can search off of this. And I guess it's kind of more or less the Garnet of the deck. If you guys played, you know, any sort of modern Yu-Gi-Oh at all, it's kind of just like the vanilla that you really don't want to draw. You just want to kind of search it, or, you know, have it in your deck for whenever you have your power cards. And this card can search this card, and it's a light 1650, so it can attack over things like Breaker, Tribe, you know, kind of, you know, the more useful cards than Goat. But it's a really cool deck. You guys should go check out the profile. I'll link it down below so y'all can check it out. Cypher Soldier or Kinetic Soldier has become extremely popular here recently due to the fact that, you know, Chaos Warriors were a thing, like, and still are a thing, but really were a thing like earlier this year. And this card saw a lot of play, but this card also sees a lot of play against, you know, things like BLS and stuff too. It gains 2 grand attack in defense during the damage step whenever battles a warrior. So it's a really cool card. So you guys make sure that you know what this card does if you guys are playing against warriors, and make sure that you're kind of, I guess, just ready for it, because it's becoming a very popular side card. And we already talked about Wang Hu, we talked about level 3 Mimic. There are a lot of other cards here in the meta that are like, you know, relevant, but these are all just ones that I've seen like that aren't, I guess you would say, part of, you know, necessarily like every single Go Control or Chaos list that have really kind of become popular here recently. And we might do another one of these videos like in a few months. Let me know if you guys want to see another one of these videos, and I will try to crank out another one, and we'll talk about like you know, kind of what's popular then. But yeah, these are all just stuff that I've seen here recently that get familiar with if you don't know what any of these cards do. And if you do know what these cards do, I guess just like get familiar with the fact that they're probably going to be in the meta for like a little while. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching, and let me know what you think down below in the comments. Let me know if there's any cards that are popular right now that I kind of missed. Let me know if there's any cards that are popular right now for a certain reason that I missed. I'm curious myself. Yeah, other than that, we will see you guys next time.